We're live. Yep, we are live. If y'all want to share and whatnot, that'd be cool. I'm gonna try to like monitor the live stream as well.
You know I would if I was able to.
I know, it's gonna be okay. I'm gonna put a hug in the mail for you, and you'll be all right. Okay, we're live. Welcome everybody. Welcome. Pray that everybody's doing well. If you're in, I know there's so much differences across cultural Hebrews as far as like the feast seasons, but wherever you are in the middle of that, hope it's all going well. So today's topic is, and baby makes three, determining when to have children. And the title is kind of funny because, you know, we don't just got three people in our houses and we like meet the mama and the daddy, or the mama, and then 3-4 kids, and then like somebody else's kids that somebody took in. So the title is stupid, but basically that's the title, you know, thinking about, you know, what are some of the circumstances in which you have children. So the synopsis says, first comes love, then comes marriage, then comes you with the baby carriage. This is the typical order of things in American culture, but is it realistic? How do you know when you're ready to have children? What do you wish you would have known before you had children? And what is absolutely essential before you even plan to bring a child into this world? Real quick commercial. So last night I got a brother that told me about this this documentary called The Fatherless America. Excellent documentary. It just came out, I think, in June, but it was taped back in, I think, 2015, 2014. So some of the stuff towards the end, I think, is a little dated as far as the commentary, but it's an excellent synopsis of like fatherless homes, particularly in the Black community. He does, the brother, his name is Tommy Sotomayor is his last name. But he does a good job at
Oh my God.
looking at, I know.
Sorry.
Oh,
I know who
you know
Tommy yeah, I know who Tommy Sotomayor is.
I never heard of him until this brother told me about him the other day, but never mind all of that, just watch it. Cause I don't know him, and I was like, it's like Zebulon. It's like he's balanced. So his I would just say, just look at it. Don't judge until you.
Which is interesting, and I'm sure that brother Shammai is probably thinking the same thing, because historically, that guy is historically he's out of his mind. But so when I hear people say, "Yeah, this is a good documentary," I'm like, really?
Yeah, he be having good points. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes, but like, man, he can go.
Yeah,
I like how he had a debate with what's dude name in the comedic community, real big, polite, and he was doing a good job on that. But he's like day and night. You got to catch him on a certain day.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm gonna watch. I'm gonna watch it regardless. I mean,
I'll watch it too.
But it's just that when I heard the name, I'm like, Tommy Sotomayor. I'm like, really? And everybody's like, yeah, it's a good documentary, and I'm thinking like really? like, because again, he has a reputation of being well, anyway.
Yeah, and I have it, I bought it, so if anybody wants to watch it, you know, I got it. So, you know, if you want to watch it on my thing, maybe we could talk about that offline. But that way you ain't gonna necessarily buy it again. But it's good, and yeah, so that's that. So we're also welcoming my nephew. Hello, young man. Brother.
How y'all doing? How everybody doing today?
Hey, welcome. So I'm excited for the additional energy that we need. You know, as we continue to talk about different topics that are impacting the Black household. It's always good to have all of our brothers and sisters to like come on and give their thoughts on the topic. So anyway, we'll go and I don't know. I guess whoever's the oldest can start. I don't know. It's not me. I'm young, but we'll get to the questions and then we can. I'm gonna be last on every question. I'm gonna be last. But we'll just jump in. Whoever wants to jump in. So the first question is, it's not really a question, and I didn't really put too many questions attached to this because I kind of wanted to be a free flowing conversation. So I'm gonna go back to my phone because I can't stay organized. Okay, so again, we're talking about an appropriate time to have kids. So I guess we'll start with the first question. You know what? Never mind. Initial thoughts. My bad. Anybody have any initial thoughts on the topic? I'm gonna mute myself, and you can jump in with some of those initial thoughts.
Never have kids. That's my initial thoughts. Wait until you're 50. But yeah, that's all I got.
But you know the funny thing about the Shema saying that is that that even though I'm sure he says that in jest, I think there's certain elements of truth to that statement, because of course, and obviously once we get into, once we start unpacking this this subject, it in modern times, children can be a costly investment, and I don't mean monetarily. Depending on who you're with, depending on circumstances, and we know that circumstances change from day and night. And as far as waiting to 50, like you said, wait till you're 50 to have children. That of course is easy for men. 50 years old, like yeah, no doubt, 50, let's get it, or whatever like that. That might not necessarily be workable for a woman at 50. That she might want to start a little earlier. But yeah, there's so much to unpack in this subject. I don't even know where I would even want to start. But I'm just gonna say that I guess I'll save my commentary for the question. So I'll pause right now for the next person.
Yeah, I feel like when you have like kids, it's something that it takes a lot of maturity. It takes both people being on the same page and everything and stuff like that. So I feel like it's not something that should be like you see a picture on Instagram of a kid, I got baby fever, let me have a baby. It takes more than that and all that and stuff. So initially I feel like a lot of people either it comes by mistake and they just going with that, or they just miseducated about it and they jump into it. So I feel like this would be a good topic for like, especially people around like my age, because this is why I seeing people my age having kids and stuff, and sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't work out with their partner and stuff. So I feel like this is a good topic for me to show up on and everything. So, and also as well, I'm excited to be on this platform. Hopefully, God, Lord willing, that I can continue being here for many more Sabbaths to come. And, I'm excited to be another addition to the round table.
Yeah, I taught him well, didn't I?
I'm gonna cry right now. Get all emotional.
Oh man, you just go pop up right after him, and it's like day and night. Day and night, day and day. Shoot, I don't know.
Go ahead, Sean. Go ahead, Sean.
Oh, okay. I don't know, it was like a mute down there. Okay, but you said I taught him well, right? No, yeah, I don't know. My take is like, I don't know, like I was one of the ones that probably didn't want kids initially, but it's probably one of the greatest things, one of the greatest, I should say, things that can happen for me, for myself. I had my oldest, when we first had him, it was kind of like, oh, I got my boy, I'm good, I ain't, but I had him since I was 23, pretty young, but it's one of those things that happen, just like, okay, I got my one child, I got my boy, I'm good, I ain't gotta have no more. But like I said, we was living together, and it was kind of like, we need to go and make this official and stuff. So we kind of did things backwards, had a kid first, and then lived together, did all that, but with it having children, it's not like how should I say, it's not like it's a book to tell you how to raise kids or even how to be there when you first have them. It's kind of like trial and error, how you have to learn as far as raising them. So with him being my oldest, there's a lot of things that we had to learn from trial and error just by, you know, our first experience with a kid. So, but like I said, it's not, kids is not for everybody, you know, and naturally if you want to be stable and situated financially and do things the right way, that's in the ideal world. But, you know, with us, you know, we don't never necessarily do things the right way or in the right way, the way that society dictates it, you know. So same thing, this is a very interesting topic, and I'm sure that we can come with a lot of different scenarios, different things, and reasons why we feel the way we feel when it comes to having children.
I agree. I got a lot of things floating through my head right now about the topic. I would echo my big brother in that you know, not really thinking about. I think I said it before on the show, but my auntie, she remembered everything I said, so she'd roast me if she was on here. But I think at one point I was like, I don't want no kids, and like I really wish I would have had more kids. So I got 3 boys, as most people know. I have 3 boys, and I think, you know, definitely at the time it wasn't a storybook situation. I mean, you know, and maybe we'll get into it. I don't know. Yeah, we'll get to it a little bit, but you know, me and my husband was kicking it. You know, so we wasn't married, but we was having a good old time. You know what I'm saying? I was the greed up. You know, he had his own business, so we were air quote grown. You know what I'm saying? But there was no form of structure. There was no like you know, as a opening comments of the description, kind of like making fun of the whole get married. I mean, fall in love, get married, then have kids. That's not. I don't think that's typically what happens in most Black households, let alone other people, other ethnicities household. But I think it happens that way. But I would agree with like I said, my brother, in that it's the best thing. I mean, outside of finding the Most High, like it was the best thing that ever happened to me. I even look around now because, you know, as my brother said, like, you know, you have that one kid and you don't know what you're doing, and then. So I call Jacob my practice kid. Like we didn't know what we was doing. We was like, whatever, you know what I'm saying. Then if it didn't work with him, we ain't continue it. But like, you know, you kind of do what you can. And but I think the beautiful thing about just overall thoughts, without going too deep into, I think the best thing about having children is that they are little mirrors of yourself. They teach you things about yourself. So I would say that, you know, if you want to have children, just know that you ain't gonna know it all, and that's okay, and that just be patient through the process, and you'll be amazed at how much you learn from them. It's not a one-dimensional thing. When we have children, we are constantly learning from each other, and that's the beautiful part about it. So anyway, that's my initial thoughts about the topic. So I guess we can go to the first question, which is it realistic? Is it realistic in our community in this day and age to think that you're gonna find love, get married, and then have kids? So whoever wants to jump in, probably in order. Shema, you want to go in order? Go ahead.
Yeah. Decency and in order, always. Um, you said, is it ideal to?
No, is it realistic that it'll be love, then marriage, then baby in this day and time?
I think it's realistic for the individual if you find the right person, but in today's society, we want it's instant gratification. We can't wait. Everything is so fast. So I guess to answer your question, it probably isn't, only because everything that is fashioned around us, whether it's technology, work, anything, everything is so fast paced, you know. So if that's everything in your life is like that, transitioning over to man and woman is it's not ideal, because you're ready for somebody new. You're ready for a person to come in your life right then and there. And that is the issue. I think that we can change that, especially with platforms like this, if it could get far enough around, you know, so we could train our youth. You know, like the young brother that's on right now, man. You know, he sound like his head is on his shoulder, and his father or Abba has instilled these things in there. Then that's the way and the best way for us to do it. We start with our children, so our children can start with their children, and teach them not to be so need to be instantly gratified. You know, so no, I don't think it's ideal unless we do the things I just mentioned, like, you know, in the case of your brother and his son, start teaching our youth. Because right now, we're in need of things real quick. So no, I say no. Wide scale. It is an exception to the rule. There are people that, you know, can do it, but
Okay, my sentiment is you know, kind of in the same vein as Shamaz, that it's I think it's ideal, but it may not be realistic. Of course, much of the things that we speak about in this on this platform, a lot of it is high idealism, you know, because we're coming from a source. Of course, a lot of times, even if we don't say it, the source that we're coming from is the scriptures. So you're dealing with high level morals and ethics anytime we're coming from that source. So a lot of the things that we speak about is idealistic, but of course, the social construct that we deal with every day in this, you know, in this exile, it kind of fights against the idealism. And like I said, like even with, you know, those of you who know my background, you know, the fun, you know, and again, tying it into, you know, having, you know, the whole love, then marriage and children, you know, these are not things that I saw. I did not see these things growing up. My parents, they didn't have that. It was, you know, my mother was 13, my father was 15. And they, you know, was in a party, they got together, linked up, and she got pregnant, and, you know, and one thing led to another, but they were never together. They just kind of, you know, and that's what I saw. I saw a lot of, you know, of course, relationship dysfunction throughout my youth. So of course, you get older, all of your, you know, all of your orientation concerning, you know, the viability of relationships is based on the pattern of failure. You know, of you know, failure and just, you know, and just insanity. So the idea of having children was, for me, you know, when I was young, that was a scary thing. It was like, why would I want to do that? Because I've seen the fruits of these planted trees. I've seen, like, well, okay, well, all right, that relationship is jacked up, and my uncle's relationship is jacked up, and her relationship is jacked. Everybody's relationship is jacked up. So it kind of makes you feel like, well, what's going to be any different if I go down the same road? I'm probably going to be jacked up as well. So I kept myself far away from those kind of situations. And again, the social construct itself makes you feel like it'll be a very bad choice to try to get involved with anybody and have children, because of course children is a different type of covenant. You know, you could be with a person and divorce them. Like, hey, this ain't working out, so, you know, whatever, we divorce. You can't divorce your children. You're kind of with them. They're there. And so I think the idea of love, marriage, and then children, it's very idealistic, but, you know, like Shema said, depending on who you're with, you know, it could work out, and you know, Todaya, you look at brother Nashawn, you know, his situation worked out. Like, he was able to, you know, he had a situation that wasn't ideal, but, you know, the dice was rolled. You know, he casted the lots, and the lots turned out in his favor, and he's been blessed in the process. But very often, a lot of times when we, you know, most of the time when we do cast the lots or roll the dice, it turns out to be very, very, very horrible scenario. So I think it's ideal, but depending on who you with, depending on the circumstances, it could be a disaster. And, you know, I think a lot of us, those, especially those who come from my background, we had to remove ourselves from those examples and put ourselves in positions to see successful relationships before we could move forward and have one of our own. Because other than that, all I saw was failure. So it was like, well, might as well just go ahead and join the failure. You know, everybody else is failing. So it's a tricky one. But I think it's idealistic. It can definitely be done, and it should be done. But it all depends on who you're with. To quote Jay-Z, who you with?
Yeah, I say I feel like it is realistic. I feel like it's difficult at the same time because when you're growing up and everything, people tell you like, oh, you know, you have time to have kids later on, sow your oats and everything like that, do you and then stuff like that. And then while you're doing you, say like messing around, and wrap it up or bust or something like that, you have a kid and it's just like, okay, you skip past the love part because it's necessary. You probably don't love that person. You just, you know, you young, you just trying to rack up your numbers and stuff. Or so you're not even married too at that point because you're probably like around like a teenager or like into your 20s and stuff. So like you haven't really established a lot of things yet, and now you have um, this big responsibility of having a child, where it's just like, dang, I don't know, like especially if you're growing up and you have like a single parent home, or you have like, you know, like your mom or your dad is just like working all the time. You don't seem like that. Like you have like a home that's not as healthy as like, say, as somebody of a, like somebody else's home, stuff like that. So, you know, there's a lot of factors and things that society puts into us that makes it feel like, you know, oh, this is the realistic fairy tale version. And they try to make that fairy tale look like it's just like a fairy tale, like it's not real life. And real life is this and that. But I feel like if you really, if isn't that person, like you find a person you love, you talk with them and be like, you know, I feel this way about you and I want to, you know, eventually get into a marriage, you know, eventually have children. You talk these things out, plan these things out, and it can be very realistic and everything. You just, and don't go after just anything. You gotta be smart fit. You gotta be just be educated, know what you're doing, and not just be fooling around. Because eventually, you keep fooling around, something's gonna pop up. Like you end up having a child, or just like if anything goes. So it just takes this, comes with responsibility, and it comes with maturity, and it comes with just having that communication with the person you feel like I'm in love with. I can be married with them, have children. You can work this stuff out. So I feel like it's realistic, but I feel like a lot of people just don't, either they grown up in a scenarios and stuff where it feels like they see all this failure, or they see like you know, you see like your friends and stuff, they have like kids before wedlock, and it's just like, oh, now, oh, he has a couple of kids now, you don't take care of him, he's all everywhere and stuff. So I feel like, yeah, it's, at the end of the day, before I start rambling, it is realistic, and it just takes a special type of like discipline for yourself, and you gotta have love for yourself and the other person as well, for your child once they come into this world. Because I know for me personally, I want to wait until I'm with the person that I feel like I can love and trust, and you know, I can pursue something like that, you know, first do like marriage, and then, you know, see how we live together, see how we interact, you know, like our yin and yang and everything. And then once the time's right, when, I don't know, when God says it's time for us to have our child, and, you know, just, I feel like it's very attainable, and it's just, it takes a special person. Like, I don't feel like it takes a special person, but it just takes that discipline. Like, it's attainable and realistic.
Yeah, just going on what everybody else saying too, the same way. Like I said, it depends on the individual. It depends on you know, what type of goals are you trying to achieve. You know, like I said, I went with a girl I was dating in high school, whatever, and you know, I guess I was call myself being in love, whatever, like that, and like we went together 4 years, and then we broke up. It was like, oh, I'm not gonna be with nobody. I'm just gonna be this whatever player, whatever, and things like that. But it's funny how like Most High always, like I said, you know, we got his hands in everything. And like I was playing the field, whatever, and then like, you know, when my wife was together, and like I said, we had my son. I was like, well, if we break up, and it sounds stupid, but if we break up, I said, well, at least I got a baby by her. It was kind of like, oh, I got me a baby by her, you know what I'm saying? Not understanding fully the responsibility that comes with it, you know. And I say, always was, like I said, it was a learning process to try to learn how to, you know, raise him and be by him and show him different things, because I know he was a most definitely a crybaby, and you know, and just things that I had to get used to, you know. And that's the thing people don't tell you when you have a kid, that is going to take away from you too. You know, that child is the most important thing at that moment. So you're not gonna have that focus on you no more. You know, it's gonna be the love between the mom and the child. You know, so that's one of the things that you had to. Nobody don't tell you until you actually go through it. That's something that you have to learn. You know, but it can be idealistic. It's just say it all depends on who the person is and how you know, what kind of goals you're trying to set for somebody. If that person had, like, I think a person knows, excuse me, to a certain extent that that's the person, you know, but even going back to y'all experiences, like even growing up too, I saw people having kids and stuff, and I was just like, you know, nah, you know what I'm saying? Because, it's, you know, not necessarily selfish, we are selfish in our own right, but, you know, I'm trying to do me, trying to live my life and stuff, and that was like the last thing that, you know, you want no kid trying to tie you down unless you are situated and financially stable in a certain kind of way. But like, saw people having kids young, and it's like they really could enjoy their lives. They were still kids themselves, you know. So like I said, it all depends on the individual and how mature you are, and like I said, what you're trying to obtain. But like I said, with my wife, I was like, well, if I had a kid by her and we went together, I felt that was like, okay, that was enough for me. You know what I'm saying? It sounds foolish, but like I said, it was just more like enough for me. It was like more like the fact, like, well, you know, I thought she was the most beautiful person ever. So I was like, well, I got a kid by her. Hey, you know, I got something out of like a trophy or something. I don't know, but it worked out for the best though. Like I said, I tell my kids all the time. I said, you know, that there never was a mistake, and you know, you all here is for a reason and stuff. And you know, I think I have three of the best kids, you know, that man can have.
Oh, that's beautiful. I feel you. I feel the same way. I think that
It's getting real mushy in here this afternoon.
I'm trying to tell you, I'm about to cry. But yeah, but is it realistic? Agree. And I think the only thing that I'll say too is that a lot of y'all talked about being intentional about it, and I think that's the point. Like, not that one thing I know for sure, you cannot change anybody around you or any circumstances around you. Like, things are going to be what they are, right? But I think that if you are intentional about, like my nephew said, you know, finding somebody, and then, you know, if they're married, if they're in love, then getting married, and then taking their time through, I think that you can do that. I think a lot of times when people around us, we say, oh, you know, sister's had a baby or whatever, like, ain't no accident, you know what I'm saying? Like I say, even with me, like I said earlier, you know, we wasn't married, we was kicking it, but we wasn't not trying to have a baby either, you know what I'm saying? So my oldest son had asked me maybe a month or so ago. I play around a lot. I know I'm very serious, but I play a lot, right? So he was like, you know, are we a mistake? And I'm like, damn, like, and I'm like, does say he was a mistake? And the answer is no, obviously, but because I try to tell him, like, we wasn't not trying to have you either. So we do stuff. We do stuff all the time, and then when things happen, we're like, oh, how did that happen? But you know what you was doing. So we make decisions whether or not we're conscious of it or not. You may say, oh, I don't want to have no kids. Then you should stop having sex. You know what I'm saying? So, and I'm only saying that not to be judgmental, but just to be in full reality that when we do things, there's a consequence to everything we do. We don't get away with nothing. And I think that if you are intentional, going back to the original question, is it realistic? If you're intentional about having a proper home and taking your time and weeding through people, and you know, if you find somebody, bless you, and you know, get married and stuff, just being you know, having your eyes on the prize and letting that be the thing that leads you to a healthy marriage, because a healthy marriage and a healthy household for a child to grow in, because the child's not going to have a healthy environment unless you emulate that between the both of you. So yeah, it's realistic, but again, like my nephew said, the work really start with the adults. And if it happened that you don't do things air quote the right way, or there's bumps or whatever in the process, you know, only the Most High really know. Then that's when you can say if Most High will, you know, because like I said with me, like we wasn't trying not to have a baby, but I'm glad. Like I was talking about that yesterday too. I'm glad that I had kids with him, you know what I'm saying? Like, we didn't have to, he wasn't, in my opinion, he wasn't a good husband, you know what I'm saying? But he did the best that he could. And I think that even, he was an excellent father, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, he took care of us, you know what I'm saying? He did the best that he could with the information that he had And I'm glad that I had 3 beautiful boys from him because my children are absolutely gorgeous. Hello. And the same thing my brother said, they doing the best they can. I see them trying, and that's all you can really hope for. I don't want to ramble either, but I do feel like you don't really know the outcome of something, but if your heart is, your intentions are right and you do your part, then you'll see the fruit of your work in your children. So with that long answer, the next question is, how do you know when you're ready to have children?
Does Zebulon go? Does Zebulon go with his yet?
Oh, did he go?
Zebulon went.
Oh no! I went on the last subject, but this is Shama's because I think he's first up on the next question. So yeah, it's on you.
Yep. Okay, so go ahead. So again, Shama, the question is
all right.
Oh, so yeah, so the question is, how do you what's the question? How do you know when you're ready to have children? That's the question.
When you're 50. That's a subject. That question. I think is more subjective than anything. It depends on the person. If I had to give an answer for everybody in the world, I would say, well, I got to take into consideration what Zebulon said as well, because I understand women clock is a little different than men's. But man, I would say you got it, man. After 30 somewhere, that's when you mature the most. I know they say women mature more than men or quicker than men, and men X, Y, and Z. Well, my observation of the whole thing is y'all should wait. Everybody should wait till like after 30, man. I mean, just that's a number I'm giving. And learn responsibility, learn patience, learn focus, learn structure, learn planning. It's so many factors that I see is lost. Like my experience with my 2 children is I was robbed, and it was my fault. Due to many things, due to a lot of things everybody on the panelists is saying. So I think the best way to eliminate most of what someone like myself and has went through, and maybe women as well, and other men that has, is after 30. I think that's like the perfect number. I mean, it's still immature men and women that's over 30. We know that. Over 40, over 50. But I think you have a better grasp in life. And before I close out, say that question one more time, because there's one more thing I want to say, but I don't know if it applies to the question. What's the question one more time?
I just muted myself again. Okay. How do you know when you're ready to have children?
Yeah, I think I said everything there. If I was to give this to my answer this for my 2 children, I would have to say the things I said, but also I mean, you'll just know. I think like me right now, I knew I would have been. I feel like I was prepared when I was in my mid-20s, but I think the real answer is when both of you and the other person is on one accord. When you find someone that both of you have a similar mindset in regards to that subject and many sub-subjects associated with it, in dealing with family, and dealing with unity, and dealing with children. So that's my long-winded answer. It's too many variables to it. So I was just trying to tackle a few different things. So that's my answer.
And yes, sir. I mean, I think the answer, to answer that is complicated because it also depends on where you are in your life. I guess at this point, everything that I'm going to say now, I have the benefit of history, my life and things that have transpired in my life in order to base it on now. So of course I can give you the best possible answer now. I'm now that I'm 44, but I look back at that time and I say, like, okay, well, how does a person know when they're ready for children? And people who know me, they know, you know, I like to extract elements of truth from the scriptures in order to go the path that I need to go with a response. And that is that the Most High said that when, you know, in the creation of man, it says, so God created man, or made man in his image after his likeness. And I think that has to be one of the prime motivations in when and how to go about having children. As a man, are you at a point where creating a child in your image is a good thing? When I was 20, when I was 18, whatever like that, I was a horrible man.
That's a good.
I was a horrible man. So the idea of actually, because again, when you have children, and again, this, you know, some people may debate this part, but they say that when you sleep with when you're intimate with a woman, that her energy and your energy transfers into that child. This is the reason why they pick up certain traits that you never taught them, but they start to reflect certain things of their parents or whatever. And if that's true, then okay, and so I think about how I was when I was 17, 18, 19, and to think that energy that I was operating in at that time could have been transferred to my children. And if that's the case, that would have been a very scary scenario, because I know how I was at that age. I was horrible, whatever like that. So, you know, I'm almost glad that, as promiscuous as I was back then, that, to my knowledge, never had any children. And now, of course, when I did finally have children, I was much older. I was in my, you know, go figure, back to what Shema said, I was already into my 30s at that point. And so my understanding of life was different. My understanding of women, Toda Yah, was much different. And my understanding of self was different. I was able to look at things and say, oh, okay, you know, and of course, this is not including all of the, you know, being financially stable and having this going on before you have children, but just the maturity of self, because finances, you can always work that out. That can always work itself out. But maturity, you can't really work that out. That's a process. That, and, you know, whatever, and like Shema said, just because you're in a certain age bracket doesn't mean that the maturity is there, because many of us are still living our second childhoods. So, but yeah, I think that was one of the things that I felt that I was blessed with, you know, when I did have my children, you know, regardless of the circumstances with the mother, you know, was that, did I feel that I was a good image? Was I a good source? Was I good source material to reproduce? You know, it's sort of like back in the days, and I think maybe with the exception of the young brother, young Nashon, I think we all know how it was. Remember back in the days when we used to make cassette copies of stuff, whatever. And you ever had somebody give you a copy of an album? Wasn't a very good copy, kind of bootleggish, whatever. And every time you make a copy, it sounds worse and worse. Why? Because you're making a copy from a jacked up source, as opposed to taking a real tape, an actual album, and then make a copy. Then it's like, oh, okay, then it's a good copy. At that time, I was a horrible bootleg. I was a jacked up bootleg copy. So anything that I would have copied from me at that point, chances are it would have just been a degradation of quality. Whereas now, because I'm in a different place in my life, different place mentally, spiritually, and otherwise, now when I do reproduce, you know, when I do give my cassette copies, they're going to be based off of, you know what I'm saying, off of an actual quality recording, a quality template. So now they receive all of the elements that they need to receive, instead of inheriting the nonsense that I was about in my teenage years. So so yeah, having, I think that's how you know when you're ready, and it takes a lot of maturity, and it takes a lot of putting the ego aside, because a lot of times we like to have children just to show that, yeah, I have a son and I have a daughter, yeah. But if we're really honest about it and say, you know what, am I in a place, you know what I'm saying, am I worthy at this point to copy myself? Like, no, I'm jacked up. Let me not reproduce this nonsense. Let me fall back and get my head together. That's if we're being honest with ourselves, whatever like that. So I knew, no, in my 20s, no, I was not ready. Definitely wasn't ready. I would, and plus I was, even though I was in the truth, I was still running around, dealing with chicken heads. so, I mean, can you imagine me? I'm out of my mind at that time. I'm like Samson. I'm, just delinquent mentally, and I'm running around with a bunch of Delilahs. So it's like anything that comes out of that union is going to be insane. So I'm thankful that I didn't have children at that time, and then as I got older and I had much more to offer, my children, I had maturity to offer them, I had manhood to offer them. I knew now I'm in a place where, yes, now I can reproduce and know that the quality of the copy is gonna be good. So that's how I knew, is that when I got to a point where I felt that I was worthy to reproduce as a man, am I ready? And that's when I felt like I was ready.
Yeah, so those some good points. I guess from my younger perspective, I know when I was growing up in high school, a lot of people felt like it was either A, I'm not having kids because they're annoying and stuff like that. It was very negative connotation around them. Or it was going to be like later on when it was like 25, 30, around that age, stuff like that. And so for like me personally, I would say like a good age is like I say like around like between the 25 and up, around that age. I feel like you know, you start building that maturity and everything, and then like once you find, cause I feel like by that time, if you're out partying and stuff like that, I feel like you should wait till your 30s, because like a lot of people just still trying to figure themselves out through their 20s and everything. So we're like, if you really need that extra 5-10 years, go for the 30, 30, like 30, 35, something like that. But I say like it's more just like not an age thing, but more just a mindset thing. Like, do you feel like the person you with is capable of continuing to bond with you and with another low of you, or a couple more low of yous and stuff like that? So that need to be taken into consideration, as well as like also, do you feel like, through thick and thin, will you be able to provide for your kids? Because I know like it gets real hard. I like just seeing my parents, or just like seeing other like people. It gets hard when you got like you're dealing with your significant other, and you're dealing with family, then you got like things you really can't control, like bills and all that stuff, and then you got kids on top of that. People just want to just walk out and stuff, and they think they're ready, but they're not. So I feel like it takes like a long look in the mirror for yourself to be like, all right, I know no matter what, I'm gonna be there for them no matter what. And also it needs to like your partner too need to have that big reflection. It's just like I'm ready to continue in this big step with them, because like I don't want to base it more like a number too, because I have a friend who's like, he had his first child my senior year of high school. I believe he has 2 kids now. He's about 20, 21, around my age. And yeah, he has 2 beautiful kids. He takes care of them and everything. Like he's like one of the best dads I've seen around my age. Like, does not play. Still with the same girl, same child, but the same girl. Has his doing everything. Like, he's really putting on for his family, for his kids and everything. I admire stuff like that, because it's like in the Black community, especially, I'm getting a child, but I'm in like accident stuff, or things get tough, and you just like, oh, I'm just gonna just leave everybody, just do me again, or you just be like, oh, I'm gonna be selfish, take my kid away from the other person, and just like it's a lot of different things that come in. So I feel like it takes you gotta have that mindset to feel like, okay, I'm gonna put on for my family and everything through thick and thin, and it just things like that, because it's doable. Like, you seen like it might be just anomaly for him since he's so young and able to provide for his family and still have like the same core values and everything. But I feel like yeah, it just depends on your maturity, and it depends on just like after you take that big reflection, like I'm ready for this basically. So I don't feel like it should be more of an age, more just like a mindset type of approach to it.
Hey, real quick, Sean, there's like an echo, so I'm not sure if it's the earphones, but next time you come on, try to come on without the earphones and just speak into it like your father's doing, just to see if we can get rid of the echo. Okay, cool.
Shamar, you go ahead. You go ahead, Shamar. I know you had a question.
No, I could wait. Till you there. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, like I don't even know where he went, where to go, but I know Zebulon made a good point about being a place in your life, even in his earlier times, he felt that it wouldn't have been a good thing to have children at that time and stuff. And that's very interesting take, because I think about me, I was 23, and I know I probably wasn't mentally stable, to have a kid, it was so much going on. Like my oldest, he was born 9 months after my dad passed away. Everything happened so fast. It was just like bam, 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 Next thing you know, we got a young baby, a child in the house. And like I said, we're just learning and stuff. But if I knew the stuff I knew now, it's always easy to say that you knew what you knew now, you probably did things differently. Although it wouldn't probably be too much different. The only thing different I think I would have did would have been more it's a little stable more, as far as me, and probably wouldn't be as reckless or whatever, but a little bit more stable, and just because I always had good intentions, because I saw a good example in the dad that I had, so those examples, I knew that I was going to be, when I did have kids, I was going to be that same example, because I saw that example from my father, but only thing I would change differently now, like I said, it would just be be a little bit more stable mentally, and even financially too, because having kids are expensive, and having kids, it do take a lot of involvement, especially if you want to raise your child the best way possible. I think about like my children. I tell them, I say, I had a great childhood growing up, and you want to provide your children the same or even better how you was raised. So like I said, it all depends on, like I said, who the person is and where you at in life and stuff like that. But somehow I wish I could have did little things a little differently. But like I said, but everything turned out the way it's supposed to turn out, and all you can do is just continue learning. And if you already have the type of mindset that you were humble enough to learn, continue learning, because we don't know everything. If we would knew everything, we'd be gods already. But I just feel like if you're willing to continue learning, and you have that person with you that's going to be by you through it all, it makes a world of a difference, especially, and not knocking nobody who already had kids, and somebody be with this person who already got kids already. I commend those people that take another man's children in his house home or whatever, it's not his, and accept them as his own. But it's so love when you do it with somebody who don't have no kids, because y'all learn together. And it stops all that like you have households where they have different parents, like I said, different dads, whatever. And the dad might come see his children, and then the other kid that might not see the children, and then they can create some type of division among the children, where the child is jealous of the other child because his dad come around, so on and so forth. So those type of things that, like I said, not knocking nobody, but I just, if it work with somebody who don't have children, it makes it even more better too, because you don't have all that conflict among the children.
All right. I wanted to just come back on, clean some stuff up that I said, but also add to it. Might be over 20 seconds, but I do want to say that someone like Nashawn and Nashawn Jr. and people like that, I want to say are the exception to the rule, are those that are that remnant. Is he talking still? You talking still? Oh, okay. I didn't know if you thought you was talking and your thing was
No.
unmuted. Okay. I think that, like the young brother said, the mindset is extremely important. If you got two individuals with good mindsets, sure, I'm all for that. That's 100% true. I think that, like I said, someone like that, and like the brother and his son, Nashawn and his son, are the exceptions to the rule. The reason I put a number, the only reason I put a number out there is because experience and maturity is a big teacher. And it's two individuals in this relationship. You can be a man or a woman that is mature, but is the person that you're dealing with mature as well? So that time of that 20s going up to that 30, you get a better idea of, even if you're mature, you know the type of woman or man that you want, you can better identify as you get older. Because some people come and it might seem like, hey, this person is good for me to have this child with, to get married to. But you don't always see it. You learn as you grow. So the brother, Nashawn and Big Nashawn, and people like that are the exception to the rule. Like he said, he had a good example. Big Nashawn. I'm guessing from your parents. I'm guessing. So that's a good example. Someone like me and Chief Zebulon, it seems like we didn't have that example. I didn't have that example. So it's a lot of things. That's the only reason I put a specific number, because normally by the time of 30, whether you're a female or whether you're a woman, or a man, your experience gets you to identify a lot of different scenarios, whether you're mature or not. But maturity is a big factor. But remember, it's always two people. So I just want to throw that out there for the listeners more so, not for the panelists. But I wanted to clear up that I don't think that you can be 21 and be married and have a child. I'm with you, It's very, very rare, and they're the exceptions to the rules to last and to be together for 30 years. So when I speak on this stuff, it's more so to still be with the person you're with for 30 years and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to clear that up.
And I think just to camel back off what you said, I think the blessing here is, like in the case of Brother Nashawn, that he had a platform that allowed him to come into a marriage that, even though it did not start in the most idealistic way, but there were certain moving parts that were there that he was able to say, okay, boom, let's make this happen. And because he already had a good childhood, like, that's a blessing, because now as he gets older, he can say, yeah, I had this, now I can pass that on. And I'm sure that Nashawn Jr., he also enjoyed the fruits of that as well. Like, yo, I had a good, childhood as well. And this is, of course, we don't hear that very often. A lot of us have not so savory origin. So when you see someone who does have these moving parts that he was able to bring together and bring forth fruit, accordingly, you definitely have to salute it and say, you know what, Toda, because, like Shama said, it is, especially in the time that we're in, it is not the norm, so when you do see it, you have to acknowledge it and say, yeah, thank the Most High for that. So.
Yep, and I'm glad you you mentioned that, because that's what that documentary talks about. Having again, it's called Fatherless America. Is talking about the examples that we have. How can you emulate something you don't know what you emulate? And I so I would agree with them. I'm glad you said that. I wanted to read one comment from the live stream. Thanks to everybody that's joined in on the live stream. If you want to comment and whatnot, just put it in there. We'll try to read it. So Robin, hey Robin, she said, I was 24 when I had my first child. She wasn't planned, but also wasn't not planned. My late husband and I felt blessed by the Most High when we discovered I was pregnant, because doctors had told me I wouldn't ever have children. And 4 years later, we were blessed with our son. So that's to the point. about the differences in fertility. I think that Zebulon alluded to earlier, but as far as being ready to have children, I love the metaphor of duplicating yourself. I will say, even to that point, you don't you're still growing. You know what I'm saying? So I do agree with that, and I also like the idea of focusing in on maturity, because a lot of times people focus on finances or having a degree or having a house and a picket fence and stuff like that, and those are things that ideally, I mean, like somebody said, that those things, money come and go, period. Like, you get a check, and here come the rent. You know what I'm saying? So you ain't never really got no money. You know what I'm saying? But so money is cool to have those things in the back of your mind. You want to have some kind of stability, but stability is in the marriage. The marriage is the stability. Excuse me, especially when you have the Most High and you're trying to follow His commandments. That's the gate around your house. The Torah is the gate around your house that keeps everything in order. And I agree too with Shema. He mentioned about the maturity on both parts. I think that a lot of times we listen to people on the outside, and I wasn't pressured to have children because I was 26 when I first had my oldest son. But I know women who are older and didn't have children, and people say stuff to them like, "When you get married, though, you're gonna get married, or you're gonna have a baby," and that those kind of pressures, I think, force people to make decisions to where now they are, they might be by themselves having a baby, out of wedlock on purpose because there's a pressure to have a child. And so I think that having kids is good, but it's not good if all they're gonna see is the struggle of it. And you're gonna have struggling whether or not you did it, the air quote, right away or not, because marriage is not difficult, but you're gonna have it's the growing process. Everybody hits a wall and they have to force themselves to change or not. But you're gonna see that happen throughout. But I think it's the unity of both the parents and the willingness to stick it out. I love that my nephew mentioned about not dipping. You know what I'm saying? Because people have kids, and then when things get hard, now they want to dip because they was playing. They weren't really serious. And having kids is not something that you just lightly decide. And again, if you have a child with somebody and you don't like that person, then what? You know what I'm saying? And the child is a innocent victim that has to look at just tomfoolery, you know what I'm saying, in their house. So they can't even come to the house and feel safe. I'm just saying in a situation that has blown out of proportion, because that's how my mind goes from from 0 to 100. But if you think about how serious of a decision that is, and for people and for us to go into it blindly and then not think about how bad it could be, it's just not fair. It's a selfish decision, ultimately, especially if you don't have anything to teach your child. Like, what are you going to teach them? And teaching is not necessarily, of course, we know in the book it says, in Deuteronomy 4, teach our children the law, but you also teach by your actions. So if you can't teach them long suffering and humility and forgiveness and patience, then you could read the Bible all you want to, but they still looking at you and seeing how you respond when things come that may not necessarily float your boat. So money is cool, but those other values they hold more value in that respect. So the next question is, what do you wish you would have known before you had children?
A lot of things. I don't know. I can't pinpoint. It's too many things. But if I just had to, like, I guess, pick one thing, that would be not to have children until I'm 50. No, I'm playing. I'm playing, y'all. Hey, I'm serious. I really would have waited. I would have waited. That's gonna be my message to my children. Wait. I don't care how sure you think you are. Unless the other. See, okay, here's my answer then. To really discern the other person. That's what I would have did. Sum it up, because I'm with Nashawn Jr. If the other person would have been focus of mine. The parents would have been the focus of mine. You know what I'm saying? I would have seen how their family structure was. So just really, my thing would be just to really investigate. If I would have been taught to really investigate, um, it would have been. I think it would have been different. So that's my answer, to really investigate. I wish I would have known to really investigate, and I didn't.
Yeah, and even though I know, again, I know that brother Shama is presenting it with a with a little slight sense of humor and jest or whatever, but but that's we speak about this on this show. I think every show we talk about time and how time is a commodity that cannot be recouped. It's the one thing that cannot be cool. A person can break into your house, can steal your TV, can steal anything, and you're like, oh, well, okay, all right, that's a vexation. But I can get the TV back. I'm gonna go hit up errands, go get that TV real quick, and we're good, whatever like that. But time is the one thing that once it's taken, it's gone forever, and there's nothing you can do to get it back. So, I think that's probably going to be the answer to maybe for a lot of us is that what did we wish that we knew before we had children, and that is that we wish that we would have taken more time to vet the other person, to not just the person but the circumstances, because the person could be, both parties could be very good people. Just because you have two good people doesn't mean that there's going to be a synergy. They might be very good people for other people, but not for you or whatever like that. And so all of these things have to be vetted out. These things have to be considered, because again, once children come into play, that's a covenant that you can't. Well, anyone that has a moral grounding, that's a covenant that you can never walk away from. Whatever like that. You can break a lot of other covenants, but the covenant that you have with your children, that's just it. There is no divorcing your children. So these things have to be considered. But now, as far as anything that I feel that I wish I would have known, things that I would have known. How did the question go? What do you wish you would have known before you had children? I wish that I would have had a more firm grip on the history of my parents. Because the history that I received, it affected me. It determined how I moved in my life, because this is what I understood or whatever like that, and a lot of the resentment that I had for my father. I think I spoke about this a couple times on the show. I had a lot of resentment for my father because the way that the story was given to me was that he got my mother pregnant and he moved on to the next female and then the next female and doing whatever like that. So the funny thing about growing up in that shadow of of my father, because he was an extremely popular person in the neighborhood. He was the martial artist. He was like I don't know if you guys ever watched that movie Roll Bounce. Roll Bounce. My father, literally, if you ever see the pictures of him, he was sweetness. That's exactly how he was. He was a martial artist. He used to wear the kung fu hats to the side or whatever. He was that kind of guy. So all the females was digging him, but he bounced from female to female to female. And the funny thing about having a love-hate relationship with your father is that the very thing that you hate him for is the very thing that you end up emulating. It's a weird dichotomy, because I'm like, yo, how could he do that to my mother? He went from her and went to this female and got this woman and that woman. And I despised it. And then lo and behold, I'm 16, 17, 18, and I'm going out doing the same exact thing. Sorry. End up doing the same exact things. And so, but I ended up coming to find out that the story that my mother gave me wasn't actually what it was. It was something completely different. And in fact, that my father didn't just up and leave her. She put him in a situation where it was either he left or he was going to end up killing the 2 or 3 other guys that was dealing with my mother. So he was in a situation like, yo, you, and he was like, you know what? I can't, because either I leave or someone's going to die. And it wasn't until I got older, you know, in my 30s, that I found out all of this, and that affected the way that I moved as a youth. Because if I'm like, I did everything almost in opposition, or like trying to disprove that I was not the child of this man. Like, how can he be like that? And then I'm end up being like that. So a lot of the information that I could have had that would have led me down a different path, and choices that I made as a man, they would have been different had I knew all of the story. Fortunately, you know, and I thank the Most High that, you know, I was still able to come into my own as a man, and, you know, and to become responsible, because I had other male figures in the Hebrew community at that time that straightened me out and got my head together and said, you're not going to be a deadbeat. You know, you're going to be a man of God. So I had that, and I'm thankful. But that's what I wish that I would have known before. I wish I would have known the whole story of my parents going forward. That's pretty much the only regret. Other than that, how can you regret having these guys? So.
And I wanted to offer a different question for my nephew, only because you ain't got no kids. So maybe Sean, if you could share some of the things that your friends maybe have told you about, you know, being a parent, some of the things that they wish they would have known. I don't know if you have the information, but that's just an alternative question in case, you know what I'm saying. You feel me?
Okay. Yeah, it's just more as like yeah, I mean, I really don't have that type of information, but I mean, like, I guess put my spin on the question. I feel like, me personally, what I'm glad that I do know is that I'm glad I have the Most High to guide me in that type of journey, because I feel like with that, I feel like I have more structure than I would have if I was like, you know, just like on like a regular job, just be out just doing my thing and everything. Like, I feel like since I have God, it provides me a lot more resources to pull from, and a lot of ways I can structure like my marriage, or how I'm gonna go after my marriage, and how I'm raise my kids and everything. So I feel like that's one of the greatest things that I have, and they guide me and stuff. But I know, like, yeah, because I mean, as far as that's most thankful for. I really can't give a real answer to this, because obviously I don't have children. But you know, a lot like the friends I do have, they always tell me things like, oh, they're happy about it. Like my friend, he's real happy he has his kids and everything. But he's like, I feel like he's a different individual. He has a different mindset than a lot of people. So I feel like what he is, his children and everything, that brings him a lot of joy and stuff like that. So he never really told me like that. And I know he's still early into it, but I'm rooting for him and everything. So as far as like that, it's always been like the people who have had kids, it's always been positive things, because it's like, you take a step back from yourself, and then it's just like, all right, look what I have, look what I can provide for and everything. It gives you like a sense of just like, I know, like from a guy's standpoint, like manhood, like, yeah, I'm taking care of my son, my daughter, this, that, and everything like that, and then stuff like that. So I guess that would be my spin on the question. And also too, if this helps with the volume, because I know you said I was echoing, so just let me know if it was still an issue.
No, it's way better. I forgot all about that until you just mentioned it, because I'm old.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Yeah, I had to leave the room where he was at, so, you know, get that echo going. My take on it is, I think if I could do things differently, I think I would have just spent more time with my wife. We would have did more things together, because like, we were just starting to really just, you know, enjoy each other and just do things. And, you know, I wish we could have just did a little bit more before we had kids. That's my only thing, you know, being able to travel and really enjoy each other, you know, and stuff now, because it's like now we like, Dad, you know, we need some time for each other, you know. When you have kids, it takes away from that, you know. And so that's the only thing I wish that we could have did differently, was just the time factor with each other, learn each other more. You know, we had to learn each other more by having a kid and being living together, and you kind of learn that way, you know. But I wish we could have just did it a little differently, where we got to do things and really got to know each other, enjoy each other before we started having children. So that's the only thing. But other than that, like I said, you know, they're not a regret, and you know, I'm thankful for my 3 children.
And then my oldest is tripping today. But he'll never come in here. But okay. I wish I had the belt right now. That's what I wish. Okay.
What's up, nephew?
Yeah, I was trying to tell him to come on, but he acting silly. But what was I going to say? Oh, some of the things that I wish I would have known. I think the main thing I wish I would have known was that your children love you. Like, I think that I'm very I'm an overachiever, and I'm very hard on myself. And I always feel like I have to be perfect all the time and do everything right. And I think that I still carry that with me to this day. But I think that when I first, first having kids, I was always so concerned about presenting something before them that was perfect. And I think we shared on this platform too. Like, we had our father, but we didn't necessarily have our mom. I didn't have my mom like that. So I always want to, even now, I try to be like super mom, you know what I'm saying, to them, because I didn't have that. And I try to compensate and even do stuff that might even seem cheesy, like, give them snacks, or like, like homemaker type stuff. And I was a homemaker when I was married, but never mind that. But I think that I wish I would have known to chill, you know what I'm saying, and to not take myself so seriously, because your children will love you, especially if they see you doing it. Their eyes and their vision is not necessarily tainted as much as our eyes are tainted, right? So we learn fear, we learn judgment, we learn all this negative stuff about people, and kids just see you as they are, see you as you are, rather, and they receive you as that. So I wish I would have known that, because I would have, that would have helped me to calm down, relax a little bit more. Because now they see me, and they'll say stuff to me like, "Oh, mommy, you're doing a good job," or "Mommy, whatever," and I could, it's cool, whatever. But I think, so I would just say to anybody that's having kids, like, don't be afraid to make a mistake in front of them. Don't be afraid to even be transparent. Like, we had a father that was very blunt, open with us about a lot of stuff, and I think that was definitely a good example, because I try to emulate that. I know Sean does too. Try to emulate that with his kids. You just tell them, they ask you a question, you just tell them the raw what it is. You know what I'm saying? And I think that that helps too, because then again, you're not dead yet. You constantly get older, and you evolving and transforming and things, and for them to see you doing that, even as an adult, allows them to also learn and make mistakes and fall. The Bible said a righteous man falls, just man falls 7 times and get back up. So you're gonna see that with everybody, and it don't stop when you get older. So saying all that to say is that by being transparent and showing your vulnerability, that's another lesson you can teach your children about how to move through this world and go through stuff and not let it keep you down. You know what I'm saying? It shows you, they can't not really stop you. If the Most High with you, you know what I'm saying, who's gonna be against you? So I guess that's the one thing I would say. I wish I would have not been so hard on myself in the early years. Now I don't care. These kids can kick rocks, you know what I'm saying? But I don't care.
Everybody. I was giving an answer to that question you just asked.
You said what?
If the Most High with you, who could be against you? I said everybody.
Go ahead, but they ain't gonna prosper though. They'll be outside.
I know.
That's right.
Shaking their fists. You know what I'm saying? What's I gonna say? Okay. And the last question is what's absolutely essential before you even plan to bring a child into this world? So I know we talked about a lot of different things that I think we pretty much touched this topic, but if you could narrow something down, right? If you could give somebody some kind of advice about what they absolutely need, what would you tell them? What do you absolutely need before you even plan the process?
First of all, I want to say it is 1:16. We moved pretty good today, so we probably.
I know we did. My bad.
We probably can. No, it's good though, because I actually wanted to add in the segment to where maybe we can have the people that's on Facebook or send them the link so they can actually be on here and they can actually get the questions or say what they want to say in real time. But anyway, if they have any like questions or any insight and stuff, so we could just involve them a little more besides the questions. So that's either next time or we could do it this time. But my simple answer, and I think if you really pay attention to the term I'm using, it covers everything. And it's the title of my last book, Self-Preservation. Self-preservation, self-preservation. That is my answer. And I'm not about to go into what I mean by it. If you really just look at all the variables, all the things spoken on, all the things we might be thinking, it can be boiled down into self-preservation. That's just my take. Shalom.
Okay, yeah, I was kind of expecting a much longer answer than that, brother. This okay, self-preservation, no doubt. I think for me, I mean, there's a lot of things that we could say, that's essential. We could say, your finances should be in order. You should love you should love the person that you're gonna have children with, and not only not only should you love them, but are you compatible? Because once again, you could love them and not be compatible, or you could be compatible and not love them. It's a lot of different variables. No, I'm just it just is what it is. Think about it. How many arranged marriages that we saw? We had a show about this before in the scriptures where, hey, you're meeting your wife for the first time, whatever like that. You don't really know what is there yet, or whatever the case may be. It's like, but it's like, yeah, we're compatible, but I don't love you yet. I mean, that's gonna take some time. We got to figure these things out. We got some things to talk about. But so there's a lot that we can go into. But for me, just in my own personal journey as a man, I think my ethics had to be right and exact, because these are the things that are lasting after I'm gone from this earth. These are the things that your children hold on to. They hold on to the ethics. They hold on to the principles that you've instilled to them. Money is good. Yes, we know that Solomon said it best. Money answereth all things. And of course, he's able to say that because he had tons of gold coming in every year. So it's easy for him to say that, whatever. But all of these things is good, but your character, like I think Tamar said it best, that words are good, but it's the actions, it's the conduct. These are the things that the children learn from. They see it, and these are the things that they emulate. It's not always what's said, but it's always how one conducts themselves. So I'm thankful that when I did have children, my character and my ethics were kind of solid at that point. I was kind of where I needed to be as a man, and now I can only just build on top of that. But I think those things are essential. There has to be some tight ethics, some tight morals that has to go into having children and raising them, because those are the things that last long after we're gone, long after whether there's money involved or no money involved. Who are you as a person? And when your children see you, do they see someone that they want to emulate, or do they see someone that they'd rather not be around? And so for me, ethics is the most is essential, and that's not only ethics for yourself, but again, that's also the ethics of the person you choose to be with, and things of that nature. So that's what I'll say on that.
I think I would say more like having like a selfishlessness, like not being so selfish and stuff, you and your partner, because first of all, if you're going to be with another person, you gotta sacrifice some things to make it work. It's not all about you no more. It's not about the other person too. So once you can build covenant between you and that person, y'all can learn that sometimes you gotta compromise on things. You know, sometimes you gotta talk things out. You know, you gotta like, you know, we do gotta let our emotions run, but you want to let them run in a more like in a positive way. Don't just like try to like write the person off or just like this and that. Try to let your emotions get in the way of that and everything. So it takes like, and I feel like it's a big step too because you know your emotions or your flesh just be like, oh, I just, you know, oh well, back in the day when it was just me, I could go do this and that. And I had to worry about this and stuff, and then you fall into that, and it's just like, well, shoot, let me go ahead and head out and do me real quick or and stuff like that and everything. And I feel like once you have that child, like that that selflessness is takes it to another step further because now you got another person that you got to rear up in this world, and you know it's a crazy world, so you got to have make sure that you got to put your time aside. Like, so maybe you have to pick up the extra job, maybe you have to somebody to stay back with the child, help them and everything. Like, it's a lot of things you got to consider when you have a child, and I feel like once you feel like, all right, it's not about me no more. Sometimes it ain't emotions. There's going to be cases where it's not, but you and your partner no more. It's going to be like, okay, I got to make sure my child or children are getting the support they need. They getting, you know, make sure they got a roof over their head, food on the table, got bills paid, and everything like that. But also they getting that love and stuff like that. Like it's like the little, like, you know, little things count and stuff like that. So I feel like once we take that step and we're just like, you know, all right, I got my family and everything, and like, I learned that like really I got this from my dad. Too, he always be telling me, but you know, you just gotta put yourself aside sometimes and just do it for your family and stuff. I feel like that's one of the great qualities of of a man, and just like good qualities as parents too, not just as a man, but just as being two parents, is people who can put their children first. And you know you have God first, but you know what I mean, like put your children first, make sure they straight and everything, because they're the ones gonna be a reflection of you when you're gone. They're gonna be a reflection of you when you're going. If they out here acting a fool, they're gonna be like, I guess their parents wasn't there or they was acting a fool and stuff like that. And I know my dad doesn't want me out there acting a fool. I don't want my children when I have them to be acting like that too. So I feel like I gotta put that aside, go ahead and build myself up too, so I can pass on qualities and ethnics and everything like how everybody else has been saying and stuff. I feel like those are really good, you know, like self-preservation and everything like that. Just keep qualities like those that comes with that. And I feel like once I'm living, put my life in life for like other people and stuff like that, it just like it'll help my children and stuff like that. So that would be my take for the question.
Yeah, I think that, you know, we are as parents, we're our children's first teachers. So, you know, it was always my mind to make sure that I'm leading by example as best possible way I can. You know, there's one thing about my kids, like, you know, how our dad was with us. You know, he's pretty much blunt. Like my kids the same way. I'm like, you know, I'm not gonna be a hypocrite about things. I'll let them know, like, okay, your daddy X, Y, Z. This we know, you know, because they get that age, they might whatever. I ain't gonna never wouldn't be that hypocritical parent, because I said I know things, you know, coming up they might have seen me do whatever like that, but it was always you know, just keep it real with your children, because they learn from you. I think even working in the school system, you see a lot of that too. You see a lot of kids that don't have a positive person in their household. You know, their mom, it might be a single parent house or whatever the case may be, but even like the school I work at, I think about you got these kids that they gravitate to me. You know, I guess they're looking for that dad figure or somebody who's positive, you know, or whatever. And not trying to assault myself or anything like that, but I'm just saying, like, you see these things, but you see, like I said, kids learn from what they see, what their environment are. And, you know, you have kids, it's very important to teach your children, you know, the right way, you know. And, you know, like I said, I didn't, my kids, I mean, I didn't grow up, I mean, even teach my kids, they was young enough to even teach them the word of God. They was, you know, pretty young. We started, you know, teaching them these things. So, but not knowing that having children, like, you're supposed to train your child in the way of the Lord, you know, once you understand it and do that, you see that the benefits are great, because you are teaching your children the foundation and teaching them what they need is to become adults later on in life. You know, like I always tell young children at school that, you know, you're only going to be a kid for a small amount of time. You know, and they so quick to grow up to be grown. But the thing is, like I said, they're looking for the love and look for different things in all the wrong places and stuff. So as us as parents and even just adults, we got to lead by example and show the children, especially the youth today, you know what I'm saying, what it is, you know, because we know we live in the last times. We know we live in the last day. We see how the children are so disrespectful now. We see how things are lining up with the word of God. But it's so important to be that example for the youth and for our children as well, you know, because like I said, they're going to be the ones who's going to be here and running things, you know. And like I said, we just got to continue being positive examples. But like I said, we are our children's first teachers, you know, so everybody didn't come up in the household where they had both parents or whatever the case may be. But I always tell people too, whatever you went through is, you know, everybody gonna go through things. But what I always say is, you know, don't let that be an excuse to better yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like they all say, well, these parents got these young parents, they don't know anything about the kids act this way. No, the cycle has to be broke somewhere. You know, we can't keep using it as an excuse, you know. So we could use that excuse all we want to, because everybody gonna go through things in life. But the things we go through is supposed to teach us, and it's supposed to make us better individuals as well. You know, so the cycle has to be broken. So like I said, we have to be the ones that, you know, like I said, leading by example and showing our children, you know, what it is, and to tell them too that, you know, enjoy being a kid, because I think these kids today, the stress and pressure that they have on them is, to me, it can be avoided if they just learn how to just continue being children instead of trying to be grown. And, you know, whatever situation may be, you know, you got some household with a mom, you know, she's a single parent, she got the son, he felt like he got to be the dad, he got to be the husband, he got to be all this because the mom might put that on him, you know, and that's not where it's supposed to be, you know. But we know that's the dysfunction that comes with, you know, even with us as being cursed as people, these things happen. But just saying that to me, they all can be avoided if, like I said, we can't dwell on the situation that we went through. It's supposed to, if it don't kill you, it's supposed to make you stronger. That's what I'm trying to say. So we got to make sure that we, like I said, probably being a positive example. Like I said, if you come to one single parent household, if anything, I'm just speaking for myself. I could be like, well, although I came from this type of household, say it was the case if my dad wasn't in my life. I tell you, anybody, it's all about choices, because I had my dad and I lived with my mom too. But the thing is, I could have choose to go to the left or go to, you know what I'm saying? Like it's all about choices, you know. So to say this, you can't always use the fact that you have a single parent or whatever. Your parents, this and that, for you to turn out the way you turn out. It's all about choices in life.
Yeah, and I know Shemai
Can
gonna
you do
jump
me a
on real quick,
favor?
but yeah, I know Shemai gonna jump on, but I want to just to welcome my other brother, Kaim. Can you hear us?
I can. Can you hear me?
Hey, what's going on,
Hey, shalom, sis, shalom. Shabbat
man?
shalom,
Shalom,
everybody.
shalom. So Shemai's gonna join in, and then Kaim, if you want to jump in, so
Okay.
my bad. I was just okay. All right, go ahead, Shemai.
All right, so I wanted to expound a little more, since the chief, you know, kind of earlier was like, man, I thought he was going to say a little more about it instead of just saying self-preservation.
The
But
chief, is
before
that
I
what we
do,
calling him now? We
Chief
calling him the chief
Zebulon,
now? Is that the
I've been
chief?
calling him
Yeah,
chief.
yeah.
Oh
I
my
noticed
God,
how he's
really?
been sliding that in a little bit more and more. I'm like, yeah. All
The
right.
chief? Okay.
Yeah, I know. That's you know,
Yeah.
maybe another
Hey
15,
man,
20
he
years
the
I can be, you
chief,
know,
man.
chief of chiefs, but nah, I'm brother Zeb. That's good.
Oh man, look, I'm messing with y'all, man. It's still Chief Zebulon Motor. Hey, but real quick, before I do this, read that last question one more time. You know, I like to stay on subject. I don't want to veer. I kind of want to stay on subject with it.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm on my phone, so I can't. You know.
That's all good. It said the question is, what is absolutely essential before you even plan to bring a child into this world?
All right, cool. So I spoke on self-preservation. I think that is very, very essential all across the board. So I'm gonna read the definition of self-preservation real quick. It's the protection of oneself from harm or death. The protection of oneself from harm or death, especially regarding as a basic instinct in human beings and animals. All right. So it's the basic protection from harm for oneself, right? So when you think of a child, before a child, you have the man and you have the woman. In order for the child to be protected, the man and woman has to have a sense of protection. When I speak on self-preservation, you got to look at it more so as is maintaining the structure of the unit being the man and the woman. So a lot of times outside sources can affect self-preservation. A lot of us don't know that that matters as well. So in the sense of, like, on the topic of like what some of us were speaking of, where like you have two mature people, right? And I'm always go back to being older. So you have two mature people. What if these mature people, not being the exception of the rule, could be still easily influenced? You know, um, Big Sean, I like that when you said Big Sean, because I thought about the old rapping days. Big Sean, like, he spoke on the choices, and that's 100% true. In addition to that, I want to add is the influences plays a big part. So when you think of self-preservation, if you have this unit that is mature and has a decent foundation, but they can become easily influenced by outside sources, that breaks the self-preservation. So if a parent going into a parent of a single home versus parents being around, that structure, that influence, it can be hard to break or penetrate something that was established, something that was preserved through that man and that woman that put that foundation on the children. I look at, and I take my head off to Big Sean and Sean Jr., LaShawn Jr., because I believe through what the parents established with him, he has a great foundation and structure. He has preserved, or the father and the mother has presented self-preservation on him, in him. So now it's going to be hard to be easily influenced from the outside source. His maturity level is a different maturity level in comparison to others that might be mature. That's why I say it's different variables, it's different levels. So when I'm speaking on self-preservation, there's multiple things. You talk about finances, getting yourself secure in that aspect, but I'm more so, like Sister Tamar speaks of, I'm more so about the maturity of the individual, because you can have money, people get cheated on all the time, money, people get abused, all that stuff. What sets them aside or different from those that might not have the money but successful in relationship is self-preservation, hidden different aspects in your life and progressing and growing as an individual, preserving self. A lot of things that we have been through and dealing with children, and the failure of it is because we did not preserve self in knowledge, in maturity, in integrity, in loyalty, in so many things. That's why I just stuck with self-preservation. But I just wanted to give a little more to it. And I agree with everything that has been said. I just want to say that. But I just wanted to add and bring it all together. So that's it.
That's good. I'm glad you explained that, because we do need to know, what I'm saying, what's important, what I'm saying, and as far as the values, right? So if you don't, and then really if you don't love yourself, which I believe is part of self-preservation. If you don't love yourself, how can you possibly love a kid? You know what I'm saying? I mean, you can't. It don't make no sense. But okay. But Cayenne, so I don't know when you want to jump in, brother. I'm gonna unmute you. I know we talked a lot today. But if whatever you wanted to add, again, the topic is we're talking about when to have kids. So if you have any, I know you have children. So if you have any wisdom, any advice that you wanted to offer, or anything about your experience as a father, especially a Black father, we welcome whatever you got to say.
All praises. Well, first of all, I guess I can just say from my beginnings of having children, and speaking on the self-preservation ideal, just being perfectly honest with you all, my first child was not something that I planned. So it wasn't really about anything. I was simply living a fornicative lifestyle. Fornicative is a word, but that's what I was doing. A young man, just living the life that he knew in sin. So that took place. And then shortly after that child came into this world, uh, I ended up getting married to another young lady. And then we had 5 children together, but she had a stepchild. I mean, she had a child. So I ended up raising that child. The child was like 3 months old when we got together. And still, I was not in the truth. I was, again, just being honest, I was getting high, I was partying, and I was still not in the will of the Father. So I'm just living life and doing what I do. But so from my upbringing, my mother and biological father were not together when I was born. They were already separated and divorced and what have you. So uh, as far as back as I can remember, my mother was with another man, which was my stepdad. So they were married, and their relationship was their relationship. And I only saw, the things that I saw, the negative and the positive. But what I can attribute to him and why I do love and respect him is because he worked and my mother worked. So that thing was actually instilled in me young. And I have a lot of brothers, and we grew up in a house together. And this was when I was in Texas. So we eventually moved to California, and him and my mother divorced. So, and me and all my brothers, that's when we separated. And it was ended up being myself and my younger brother from my mother. So it was me and him. And that's when I moved to Los Angeles, California, about 13, 14 years old, and life spiraled. Like I got into gangs and I did everything contrary to the will of the Father. And I mean, for a lot of years, I was living foul, more foul than I was, I guess, before. So I guess just on that note, to me, that's the same lifestyle that all of my people have had in some form or fashion. Misguided, having to, find your own way, learning, from the things that you did. So uh, that happened. So now jumping back forward to me having children, I had left the gang life alone and was, wanting the young lady that I started having 5 children with. And let me tell y'all, we didn't get married right away. We had some children, about like 3 of our children. And then some 7 years later, she finally decided to marry me. Mind you, I had been asking her from the time that we got together, and she didn't want to do it. So eventually I got her to marry me, and we got married, was married for another 7 years, and then she left, and then we separated, and she took my children from me. So that was a long 5 years of me going to court, trying to get my children. But as soon as she left, I'll say in 2012, she left. So that following year, the truth was brought to me of who I am, so forth and so on. And all I can say is, I know that the Most High does things in his appointed time, because I had nothing to hold on to. Because regardless of the nincompoop, knucklehead man I was, my children was my life. And because of what I went through growing up with my dad not being there, and then my stepdad and mom leaving him, I told myself, I made a vow to myself that whenever I had children, I was going to do my best to be there for them. And money wasn't even an issue because I worked. But as far as I can see, a lot of us work and still don't have enough money. So that was never the issue. For me, it was about the time, because I can teach somebody how to be a millionaire, even though I'm not. I just believe that. So with that being said, so we broke up, and then I eventually got custody of my children because, and this is my because I kept the commandments and I trusted in the Father, and he showed me that his word is true. So I ended up getting custody of my children, not all of them, because by the time this took place, many of them were 18 and up and so forth and so on. So they living their lives now, but I got custody of my youngest too. And so now from that being in the truth, I am now married. And I married a sister in the truth. And so here we are now, some 2 years later, married, and she has children. We don't have any together, but she has children. So the dynamic of me raising stepchild, I went through that for a reason. And so now with her having children and me having to deal with them and her having to deal with mine, she now became a step parent. And so she hasn't had to deal with my ex-wife because I'm no longer in California. But I've had to deal on some level with the father of her children or what have you. So just being about self-preservation now and bringing that into the conversation, being about self-preservation, one has to realize what self actually means, because when now us enlightened people have to look at the entire nation of Israel and realize true self-preservation. So now in me taking on someone else's children, I have to realize that I'm teaching them to preserve themselves. Now, the children have accepted who they are. The fathers have not. So that brings a whole nother dynamic into this game, because I'm teaching them something, then they go see their other parent and they're getting something completely different. So it's just a thing of having to have faith in the Most High. You know, I have to trust that his word is going to seep into these children and they're going to hold on to it regardless of what the other parent is saying. So I don't feel like I have the authority to preserve myself. Now let me explain that. And I'm saying that because I was once a knucklehead, a gun-toting, drug-selling knucklehead. And I can only protect myself from the dangers that I see. I can't protect myself from unseen dangers. So me saying that I preserve my life is a lie. It's always been him, and I don't put that on my shoulders that I have that ability to do so. So I understand what the panel is saying, but for me, I understand that I don't have that ability. But his law says, keep my commandments so that you and your children will live. That's his promise to me. And that's where I try to keep my faith in his word, because I could walk out here tomorrow, even as a commandment keeper, and get shot down by some knucklehead shooting at somebody else. It could just happen. So I just try to keep things in that perspective of I have no control over anything except my actions and what I teach my seed and other men's seed. And so I treat them with love, and I treat them as I treat my own. If I'm mean to everybody. If I'm kind to everybody. And that's just how I view this thing. So if I was asking if they think or know that I love them, I would hope that they would say yes, mine included, because my children can be difficult too. So it's just all across the board how I try to teach them one narrative of the Most Highest God, and then we have Yahweh Shai, and then there's me, and there's your mother, and there's you all. And I try to teach them all that narrative so that they take these principles with them wherever they go. Today I did my lesson, and my lesson was based on, I started in where Paul was speaking to Philippians, saying, not only did you obey in my presence, but not in my presence also. But when I started with that scripture, and to let them know that, because my wife is very adamant when she says the Most High is watching you, and she says that frequently, saying that you guys aren't going to always be around us, but his eyes are on everything, and you have professed to be who you are. So now he's really paying you attention, and your lives are being written down. So I hope I'm being clear, and my understanding is coming across. But to preserve yourself for each individual is for you to keep the commandments. If the Most High has blessed you with children, it really relies on you keeping the commandments to preserve yourself. And that's really how I see self-preservation.
I wanted to comment. And what he said, facts, 100%. And I don't say facts a lot. Those that know me, I don't like saying facts because it's a different. Some people associate theory, opinion, and all that stuff with facts. And facts and opinion, theory is all different. I do want to say, when I speak on self-preservation, he just nailed it at the very end. That's exactly what I meant. Because the Most High tells us to choose life or death, and choose life or death is through his commandments. And when you speak on his commandments is in order for you to preserve yourself in the life that he has for you. It's to preserve yourself away from evil. So I just wanted to make that be known that like when I speak on self-preservation, it's not that I'm saying that it's out of the will of the Most High. It's always through the principles of the Torah, through his commandments, through his judgments, through his examples that we have. You know what I'm saying? So I would have to say that I do believe that we can preserve ourselves through the examples and through what he or it, whoever, anybody who's listening, how they speak on Yod He Wahe, has put in action for us. Because by not preserving ourselves, it's to go against the will of the Father, to go against the will of the commandments, to go against the layout and the structure. So that is what I meant. And off the brother, the More, how he spoke on at the end. That's exactly what I meant. So I'm glad he brought that out, just to give me the opportunity to come back on and to kind of, expound on what I meant for those that might be listening and might not have understood what I meant. I appreciate that. Shalom.
Yeah, it's a lot of chest hairs on here, so I'm gonna offer a little feminine energy, just to balance out the conversation. That was so funny. Oh my God. Okay. So I appreciate that, Kanyim. I love your testimony too, and showing how, the family that you came from, and then showing how you, are conscious of like the effort to not duplicate that, and with whatever kid come across your path. I think that's something too that I think that the conversation that we're having today is again talking about the appropriate time to have children and what that will look like, but that's also in the context of us living singularly, right? So we don't have communities. That's not true. Some people do, but have communities where we have elders around us and people around us to show us, and not just show us, but to be there to help fill in the gaps. And that's also a law, right? The law is that the widows and the fatherless will not be by themselves. You know what I'm saying? So even just you looking and filling in those gaps, and not even the widows, I'm just saying people period, like all these single women we get out here, all these single men we get out here, it's our responsibility to then fill in that gap wherever appropriate, however appropriate, because ultimately that's how we, like my brother said, how we stop the cycle. We can talk all day long, and then our children get to see us do that. So so those that are doing that, I have a lot of respect, because I feel like I'm the product of that too. Like my mama she was in the city, still alive, but my auntie filled the gap in a lot of ways, and my grandma filled the gap, and my mother-in-law came and filled the gap. So one thing I know for certain is that no matter what situation your children come up in, whatever they're lacking, like I think Haim kind of alluded to, is the Most High is going to fill that gap. So again, we're doing the best we can as parents, future parents. When you do decide to have kids, don't be so hard on yourself. The Most High is going to make a way for everything to be the way it's supposed to be. But I think it's good to have physical examples, because a lot of times we have narratives that say, well, black men ain't this, and y'all niggas ain't that, blah, blah, blah. Black woman is this. But we have examples of people who are not doing that. So I'm so happy to be on here with all y'all brothers, talking about all the good works and things that y'all are doing and stuff, because it's a good balance to the false narrative that we ain't nothing. So if anybody wants to do any closing thoughts, we can do so. We can go back in order. Shema, if you want to jump on down the line.
All right. I appreciate all the new people that has come on this panel, man. You all have really gave some different perspectives that still aligns with most of our perspectives. I just love the different thought patterns that we all have, and we're all adding. I still wish that we could get more women on the panel, so we can make it a little more balanced, because Tamar, we love you, but I'm getting tired of you. I'm playing. We would love more women. Those women that's on right now, that's on Facebook, if you're here, please, even if it's once a month, we would love for you all to come on. You don't have to show your face like the brother Chaim. He came on, he didn't show his face, but he spoke. We want to hear your voices. Your voices be heard. I appreciated the conversation. I appreciated the topic. I think this was a great topic, especially for the youth, because we all old. So we already got children. We got to go ahead and pour into the brother Nashawn Griffin. You know what I'm saying? We got to pour into you, brother. and those that might be listening that might not have children, that might be younger. So thank you again. Shalom. Shalom.
Yeah, I just want to say in relation to what Shamad just said, yeah, I'm not old, brother. 44 is the new 15. So I'm still getting it. Truly, I'm washed up. But but going back to the issue of children, I'm thankful that as I got older, I began to understand the importance of children. I'm anybody, like I said, those of you who know my backstory know that I'm very thankful of how things have turned out with my life, because like the brother Kaim, I was in that same, we were, just from what he said, I'm like, yo, we were we were in the same boat. I was running wild, and even with knowledge of self, I was wild and whatever. And I know what I would have done had I stayed in that mind frame. I would have been the quintessential deadbeat that all the sisters be railing against, because I already knew my attitude was like, oh, you said you're pregnant? No, I don't know about all that. I'm out. That ain't my problem. That's your problem. You know what I'm saying? Whatever, like that. The seed is in you. It ain't in me. So whatever. I'm gone. And I know that would have been the track. That would have been the track that I would have traveled had not my elders, snatched me up and said, hey, like Solomon, again, once like David said to Solomon, you will show yourself to be a man. You're gonna be a man and stop this punk nonsense that you're doing. So with that understanding, as I got older, now having children, I can appreciate that, because now I know that what they're gonna receive from me is what they could not have received from me 25, 30 years ago. They definitely would not have gotten that. They would have gotten next generation delinquency. I would have gave them my nonsense, and they would have seen how I treated their mother, and vice versa. They would have seen that, and they would have thought that is the norm, and they would have probably repeated the very thing again. Generational curses. So now being in a position to where my children, regardless of what the situation may be with the parents or whatever like that, the one thing that they always see maturity. They see ethics involved. They see the Most High. They see these things, whatever like that. So like with my son and my daughter, when they come in here, like first thing in the morning, the first thing they want to do is they say, Abba, let's go pray. Hallelujah, let's go. Let's get it. You know what I'm saying? Because they see, well, that's what I was doing. Whatever I was doing, I want to do. And this is the same thing that we're always talking about with the Most High. When we look at the scriptures, whether you're in the Tanakh, whether you're in the New Testament, the one thing that we always talk about is there's an emulation. What would Moses do? Let me emulate Moses. Or what would Yeshua do? Let me go emulate that. Why? Because these are the examples that we have. So when we get these examples, we emulate that. We are now able to go and provide that same platform for our children. So now they can see a living testimony of what servants of the Most High is supposed to be. So, and that's all I have to say about that.
I just want to say that it's a blessing to be on here and everything, share my opinions, and just being part of it. I've been watching it for like the last month, I'd say, and everything. I always want to get on it, but I feel like now is the time. So thank you everybody for welcoming me, and looking forward to more opportunities of being on and everything. And I just say, like, off this topic, it's like any topic we discuss in the past and in the future is that just give up to God. He'll make it possible. He'll make it realistic. That's just my take on a lot, everything in life. Basically, if I ain't got God helping me out, then ain't finna prosper. So that's how I always see. That's how I go through life. So thank you everybody, and everybody have a peaceful rest of the day and everything. And yeah.
Yeah, I just add to, like I said, just continue being
those examples that that we are continue being, not only for our children but for the youth today as well. Continue being an example, and like narratives always say, there's not good men out here or good women out here. More negative towards the male perspective. Not good men out here, but we showing that there is a lot of good brothers out here that are trying to do right by their children and their families. Putting aside their egos and putting their kids first and stuff, and that's very important, especially in the Black community, because, like I said, so much negative stereotype and energy that comes from out our community anyway. Like I was saying before, you think about most of our men are either dead, jail, or gay, and that's a lot of the issues too as well. But the ones that are here, that are trying to serve the Most High God with everything they have, and they know that He comes first, and then you're gonna take care of your family, because that's an infidel. That's what the Word of God tells us. That's an infidel. That's a person who ain't trying to take care of their kids. How can you be a servant of the Most High and represent Him if you ain't doing the little things about taking care of your children, something that reflects of you, that look like you, had traits of you, all those things. And that's one of the things that I'm so animated about. Like how a person, I speak for a male perspective, how a male don't want to deal with his seeds, because of whatever the relationship is with your mom. And it goes on a woman's perspective as well too. A lot of times they be mad at the man, and they keep their kids from seeing their dad because of whatever their personal whatever situation is. So a kid shouldn't have to pay for that because y'all don't get along, whatever the case may be. But again, we keeping the Most High first. He'll allow us to be those examples and be a positive to our children. And not children, because I know some of you brothers, you dealt with, you've been with one who had children already. I guess I commend you, most definitely commend you for that, because I saw that with my dad, taking him, being with my mom who already had 2 kids already, and treated them like that was his own, and they looked at him the same way. Like they said, a lot of their early teachings would come from my dad as far as learning about the Most High God. So that's a blessing, in itself. So I said, I love this platform. I love that we're doing this. And yeah, we need some more women perspectives on that too. Love you, sister. I know I love you. I know you say some good things, but kind of balance it out, have some more women on here, and I think it's a good thing. And I think that thank y'all for having me on there, and have a blessed rest of the Sabbath.
Yeah, Sister Tamar is the matriarch, so of course, her position is what it is. But obviously, there's a need for some other balanced sisters. We'll say that.
Right.
We don't necessarily want the sisters to be up there like let me tell you, girl.
Right.
Some balanced, Yah-fearing women that's not gonna roll their neck every 30 seconds.
Right.
All right, Kayem, did you want to say some final words? Not last words, because you'll still be here with us, but just closing words for the. I don't know if he's still on. You want me to unmute you? Maybe I need to unmute you.
Yeah. Okay. Hey. Can you hear me?
Oh, hey, there's your face. Hey, bro.
Yeah, I'm not tech savvy, and I just realized, let me touch the screen, and I saw I can allow videos. So yeah. I don't mind showing my face. I just didn't know how. So all praises.
Okay.
Okay. First of all, I want to say that I give thanks and all praises to the Most High for y'all. And I don't know who was the original thought behind this platform, but you guys, this is a great platform. All praises.
It was Shema.
Yes, this is a great platform. I've been watching you guys, and I start my lesson. You guys start at 12. Okay. Yeah.
No, one our time, 1 Eastern time.
Okay. So I start my lesson with my family at 12, and I do 2 hours worth of our lesson. That's why I'll be coming on late. But I'll be trying to catch y'all, because I'm telling you, the ones I've caught have been great topics. So you guys, I don't know how, but we really need to try to figure out how to get this out to more people, because, this old saying hasn't changed. It takes a village to raise a child, and we need each other. And I know that for myself, because right now I'm striving hard to get my family around more of our brothers and sisters, because I know that's what's needed. I mean, we seeing all these, heathens even of our people on a daily basis, and our children are dealing with them more regularly than they're dealing with than those that are enlightened. So to me, it's becoming imperative that we really get around each other and spend more quality time with one another. So I really thank you guys for, you Shema, for the Most High putting it on you and you going forth with it. And you found some really good people that conversate back with you, the topics. You guys are doing a wonderful job. And so as far as the brothers here and those that are listening, I really respect you for doing right by your children, because in doing right by your children, the Most High is smiling on you. You're doing right by yourselves. And I just believe his word, and I know that it will work out for us. And people like us that do care like this, then sisters like Tamar will continue to have brothers that'll be there for her children, and things of that nature. So that's what it's about in really rebuilding. It ain't about getting 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 wives and making 20,000 children. We have enough to work with right now to where if we got our people in line, we'd be good with what we have. So, that's just my little 2 cents on that, because there's a
Hey,
lot
say that again. Say that again.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, there's enough women out here being the father and the mother to children that we don't have to go and get this many wives to do that now. Understand my perspective. It is not his perfect will, but it is the Father's permissive will that we're able to do that. So having a second wife and things of that nature is okay. But how you going to take all these wives and not be doing for women that don't have fathers in their household as well? These are your sisters, and these are young brothers that need you as well. So that, to me, that's what it's more so about. And that's just the role that we have to take on. And I want to be that person. I grew up in the house with a bunch of brothers, so I'm used to having big families, and that's why I had a lot of children, and me and my wife together have a lot of children. That is a full house to me, and that keeps me busy. So it's just a lot of work that we need to do as a people, and it's going to take conversations like what we have here. Look, I done already put myself in y'all's group. This is what it's going to take.
You're welcome, Moray. You're welcome to come on. We need. Hey,
this is what it's going to take. I'm telling you, I thank the Most High for this. You guys, level-headedness, and you just attack the issues and speak on it. You have given me so much. I'm talking about I've taken a lot from your conversations and added them to my life. I'm telling you, just so you know, what you all are doing is really a blessing to the people, period. So I'm gonna do my best to share and try to get more people on and pray that the adversary doesn't get his hands in this thing and try to dismantle it. So all glory and honor to the Most High. I appreciate y'all. Thank you, and I love all y'all.
Yeah, and that's some good work. I appreciate you coming on, and that's for anybody. We ain't no secret group that you can't get in. So it's who have often anybody. This is for anybody that wants to join in. You're more than welcome. As well, and I think that, and I appreciate your kind thoughts, Kanye. I've known this brother for some years. When I was doing the other radio station with the music, he's a poet. If y'all didn't know it, okay. So yeah, so I met a lot of good people when I was on that platform, because anyway, so I met a lot of people that way. But anyway, so I appreciate your feedback, and definitely I pray the same thing about the adversary, because I've been in groups coming and going, and it's been like a lot of people, then small people, and a lot of people and small people. So we got to always stay prayed up on that. But I believe that whatever our work is gonna get done, because if Most High don't do it through us, somebody else He gonna raise somebody else up to do the work. So I'm just grateful to be in this space with all of y'all and to learn. And I think I also talk too about spreading the word. We do have a YouTube channel. And it's basically Love Language Roundtable, and we upload the videos after we live stream here. So that's another way for people to hear that who might not be on Facebook. So if you want to like and subscribe to that channel, and then maybe share that might help as well. But definitely on your pages, share the videos, share them, because we also want people to contribute more perspectives. Because like I said, there's a narrative, there's a false narrative that black men ain't nothing, and that ain't true. You know what I'm saying? Same thing with the women. We all do the best that we can. I do want to say too, I don't want to ramble, but I'm trying to run through stuff you said, especially when you talked about taking care of the people who are already here. And I think that's key as well. It's a lot of work to be done. And we just need to get to it. Whoever has a heart to do it, to do it. And I'm blessed. Like I said, I love my brother, and I think the Most High for our Father, and I see it in Him to this day, still looking out for me. We don't live nowhere around each other, so I just think I love all y'all. I think all y'all. I've always gravitated towards men, and I appreciate the Father always give me what I need and stuff, especially with me and my 3 boys. So anyway, so that's the topic for today. Like, share the video.
That's a question. Is there any comments that need to be read before we?
No, I only saw that one comment from Robin. I just seen Yana came on, and her friend came on too. They just said hey to each other. So, but that was it.
I just wanted to make sure that.
Yeah, no, you're right. You got it. Yep. Okay, so pray y'all continue to have a good rest of the Sabbath, if you observe it. Good rest of the weekend for everybody else, and then Most High willing, we'll be back the same time next week, 1 Eastern, 12 Central, for another topic. And again, if you want to join, don't be shy. We see you commenting anyway. So okay, so grace, peace, everybody. We love you, and until next time, peace.
Oh yeah, shalom.
Shalom.